Myself Siddharth Chauhan. Welcome to Easy MedChem. We were studying the video lecture on the topic of spinal cord. So today's topic is to cover about the gray matter of the spinal cord. So the gray matter is nothing but it is a major component of the central nervous system. It consists of the neuronal cell bodies, neutrophils, which are the dendrites, myelinated as well as the unmyelinated axons. It consists of the glial cells, astrocytes and oligodendrocytes, which synapses and the capillaries. Gray matter is distinguished from the white matter in that it contains numerous cell bodies and relatively few myelinated axons, while the white matter contains relatively few cell bodies and is composed chiefly of long-range myelinated axons tract. The color of the gray matter difference arises mainly from the whiteness of the myelin. In living tissues, the gray matter actually has a very light gray color with yellowish or the pinkish, which comes from the capillary blood vessels and neuronal cell bodies, isn't it? The gray matter refers to unmyelinated axons and the other cell of the central nervous system. It is present in the brain, it is present in the brainstem, and it is present in the cerebellum and present throughout the spinal cord. The gray matter is distinguished at the surface of the cerebral hemisphere as well as in the depth of the cerebrum. Okay. The gray matter in the spinal cord is known as the gray column, which travels down the spinal cord distributed in three gray columns that are present in the H shape. The forward facing column is called the anterior gray column, the rear facing is called the posterior gray column, and in some places the interlinking one is called the lateral gray column. The gray matter on the left and the right side is connected by the gray commissure. So the left and right gray matter are connected by the gray commissure. The gray matter in the spinal cord consists of the interneurons as well as the cell bodies of the projection neurons. So today's topic is to cover about the gray matter. What does actually the gray matter is? The gray matter of the spinal cord is H-shaped. We have to remember that it is H-shaped and it is butterfly in shape. Okay. So it is butterfly in shape and H-shaped, and having anterior and posterior horns. So the gray matter of the spinal cord is having two types of horns, which are the anterior horns and the posterior horns, and in some places it is having lateral horns also. So the gray matter is united by the gray commissure. So the two sides of the gray matter are connected to each other with the gray commissure. So if this is the gray matter, this full is the spinal cord and this is the gray matter. This is the anterior side and this is the posterior side. So the gray matter of the spinal cord is having two types of horns. These two are the posterior horns and these two are the anterior horns. And in some places it is having lateral horns also here. In some places the lateral horns are also present. These two types of gray matter, this side and this side, are connected to each other with the help of a gray commissure. So this part is called the gray commissure. This part is called the gray commissure. Okay. The gray matter undergoes development and growth throughout the childhood and adolescent. Recent studies using the cross-sectional have shown that around the age of 8 the volume of gray matter begins to decrease. So above the age of 8, the volume of gray matter is going to decrease. However, the density of the gray matter appears to increase as a child develops into the early adulthood. Male tends to exhibit gray matter of increased volume but low density than that of the female. So what is the function of the gray matter? The gray matter has many functions. The gray matter contains most of the brain neuronal cell bodies. The gray matter includes regions of the brain involved in the muscle control. It helps in the sensory perception such as the seeing. It helps in hearing. It helps in memory. It helps in emotion, speech, decision making and self-control. So the gray matter in the spinal cord is split into three gray columns, which are the anterior gray column, posterior gray column and lateral gray column. So the anterior gray column is a motor function. We have studied in the previous section of the spinal cord videos that the anterior horn of the gray column is motor in function, which synapses with the interneurons and axons of the cell that have traveled down the pyramidal tract. These cells are responsible for movement of the muscles. So the anterior gray column is motor in function and the posterior gray column contains the point where the sensory neuron synapse is. So the posterior gray column is sensory in function and the anterior gray column is motor in function. The posterior gray column receives sensory information from the body, including the fine touch, proprioception and the vibration. This information is sent from the receptors of the skin, bones and joint through the sensory neurons whose cell bodies lies in the dorsal root ganglia. So the posterior gray column is sensory in function, which receives a sensation of the fine touch. It will receive a sensation of the proprioception and the vibration. This information is sent from the receptor of skin, bones and joint through the sensory neurons whose cell bodies lies in the dorsal root ganglia. This information is then transmitted in axons up the spinal cord in the spinal tract, including the dorsal column, medial lemniscus tract and spinothalamic tract. In some places of the spinal cord, the lateral gray column is also present, which is a third column of the spinal cord. So the gray matter of the spinal cord can be divided into different layers called the relaxed lamina. Okay, so this is the gray column. The gray matter is united by gray commissure containing the central canal. So this part is called the gray commissure, which is having in between the central canal. In some section of the spinal cord, the lateral horn is also present, which is present at the level of thoracic and upper lumbar region. So the lateral column of the gray matter is present at the upper lumbar region or the thoracic region. So the size of the gray matter will decide the amount of muscle innervated. If the amount of muscle innervated are more, the size of the gray matter is more, and if the amount of muscle innervated are less, the size of the gray matter is less. So these are some sections of the gray matter at the different levels. So this level is at the cervical 5 level, this is the thoracic 2nd level, this is the thoracic 8 level, this is lumbar 1st, lumbar 2nd, sacral 2 and sacral 3. So what we have to remember in this part is that the amount of gray matter will decide the muscle innervated. If the muscle innervated are more, the amount of gray matter is more. So if the more muscles are innervated through that part or through that section of the spinal cord, the size of the gray matter is large, isn't it? There are different, so we have to remember that there are anterior gray column, there are posterior gray column, there in some places the lateral gray column is also present. The anterior gray column is motor in function, whereas the posterior gray column is sensory in function, isn't it? There are numerous nerve cells are present in the anterior gray column, posterior gray column. So today we will be studying about the nerve cells in the anterior gray column. There are mainly 3 types of nerve cells are present in the anterior gray column. These nerve cells are present in the anterior gray column are large and multipolar. So these nerve cells are large and they are multipolar. If this is the anterior gray column, isn't it? This is the anterior gray column and this is the posterior gray column. There are 3 types of nerve cells are present at the anterior gray column. This is the medial, this is the central and this is the lateral. Medial nerve cells of anterior gray column, central nerve cell of the anterior gray column and lateral nerve cell of the anterior gray column. So these are the medial, central and lateral. The medial nerve cells of the anterior gray column, it is present in all segment of the spinal cord. So the medial nerve cell of the anterior gray column is present throughout the spinal cord, isn't it? We have to remember that it is present throughout the spinal cord and it innervates the muscles of neck and the trunk muscles. Okay. The central nerve cells of the anterior gray column is present in the cervical and the lumbosacral segment. So this is not present at the throughout this level of the spinal cord. It is present only at the cervical and the lumbosacral segment. There are 3 types of nucleus of the central nerve cells. These are the phrenic nucleus, which will innervate the diaphragm. There are accessory nucleus, which is for the accessory nerve, and this is the we know that the accessory nerve is the 11th cranial nerve. It is having a spinal part also and it is having a cranial part also. So the accessory part of the as 11th cranial nerve is spinal part is having a nucleus which is present at the central nerve cells of the anterior gray column. This is called the accessory nucleus. The last third type of nucleus is a lumbosacral nucleus. The lumbosacral nucleus is also present at the level of central nerve cells at the anterior gray column. The next type or the third type of the nucleus is the nerve cell is the, and in the anterior gray column is the lateral. It is present in the cervical and lumbosacral region also. So this is also not present at the full level of the spinal cord. It is present at the cervical and the lumbosacral as in the central nerve cell of the anterior gray column, and it will innervate the muscles of the upper limb and the lower limb, isn't it? So these are the nerve cells in the anterior gray column. We'll be studying the nerve cells in the posterior gray column in the next section of the video. So do like, share and subscribe my channel and press bell icon for more notification. And please guys do comments also. Thank you. Please like, share and subscribe Easy MedChem and press bell icon for more notification.